So today's topic is on digital forensics, which is quite a vital part of cybersecurity and a place to explore in terms of career. Our speaker is called Daniel Ndegwa. I'll go ahead and introduce him. Daniel is a seasoned cybersecurity professional with a robust background in identifying enterprise cyber risk, implementing effective controls. He excels in driving organizational resilience against evolving cyber threats and has a proven track record in enhancing security postures through strategic initiatives and optimized security operations. His areas of interest include network architecture reviews, mobile application security, digital forensics, and optimizing security operation centers. Then he is dedicated to advancing cybersecurity practices and fostering a safer digital environment for organizations of all sizes. So we'll go ahead and listen to Daniel. Hopefully he'll tell us more about what he does and how he combines all those things to provide a better cybersecurity posture for the places he has worked. So I'll go ahead and give the floor to Daniel to take us through digital forensics. Daniel,
Right.
karibu. Yeah.
Asante, thank you very much, Hope, and I'm delighted to be here with you this evening, speaking about digital forensics. So I'll go ahead and jump right into it, take you through a brief presentation on digital forensics, the techniques, and different aspects of digital forensics. So maybe just hope you can confirm whether you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Daniel, we can.
All right. Thank you. So digital forensics is a very interesting field, very interesting area. You get to interact with different systems, different applications, and you put on the cap of an investigator looking to identify tracks and evidence that perpetrators of a specific fraud or a specific malicious activity, what they left on the network. So I'm gonna go into it and speak about these 6 main areas. So I'll do a brief introduction on digital forensics, what it is about, the key concepts and terminologies around digital forensics, and then spend a bit of time speaking about the digital forensics process. I believe this is where we'll spend most of our time and get most of the information around digital forensics. Then from there, we'll look at different tools and techniques. So as you go through the process, we'll also appreciate quite a number of tools that you can be able to use when conducting digital forensics. And then look at some of the challenges. What are the challenges that you would face as a forensic investigator? And then what are some of the best practices for you as a person at an organization level? What are some of the best practices that you can implement to ensure that in case something was to happen, you have data and logs that you can come back to and review? And then I will go into the Q&A session just to get a few questions from you guys. So digital forensics ideally is the process of identifying, preserving, analyzing, and presenting digital evidence in a way that is legally admissible. And the word legally admissible is very, very important because if your data, the process of collection, the process of analyzing does not retain the integrity of the data that is being collected, then we will have an issue there. It also involves the process of investigating different devices, that is computers, mobile devices, tablets, storage media, cloud infrastructure, specific databases. And once you have a review of that, collect evidence of criminal activity, security breaches, or other incidents involving digital data. So when you're looking at digital forensics, you look at these to be able to identify activities around theft, activity around online fraud, activity around criminal activities like burglary, assaults, and murder, and then also white collar crime. So those are some of the areas that are some of the issues that one would look at in terms of an investigation to try and figure out what happened and why. So when you're talking about digital forensics, there are some there are some key concepts that you need to understand and appreciate. One is data acquisition. So this is a process of collecting data, and I'll speak about some of these terms as we continue. So I just wanted to give an introduction about them so that you're able to appreciate what data acquisition is, what chain of custody is, what forensic imaging is, and what timeline analysis is. So chain of custody is a record that documents the handling of evidence. So in digital forensics, we usually collect data through images. So in case you suspect that a fraudulent activity or malicious activity occurred on a specific server, then you have to take a forensic image of that server. So once you take a forensic image of that server, there are records that you write into that image, and one of them includes the person who collected the image, the time in which the image was collected, some details or descriptions about why that server was picked for imaging, and then once the forensic imaging process is done, then the image is has a hash, a specific hash, either MD5 or SHA, specific, depending on the tool that you're using to image. And that specific hash is used to uniquely identify that image, so that in case someone else was to want to conduct an analysis of that file, they would need to take a copy but retain the original. So chain of custody becomes very important. How did we get access to this device? How did we image? How did we store the data? In terms of collecting laptops, there is a form that you need to fill that says this is a person who picked the lab machine, this is the serial number of the machine, this is the serial number of the hard drive, this is the MAC address of that device. So having a clear chain of custody, because in case you're planning to go ahead and prosecute a case, if you don't have a proper chain of custody, you'll have quite a number of issues. And forensic imaging, this is a process of creating an exact copy of a disk or of a device, and that it allows you to work on a copy well, preserving the original evidence. And something a rule of thumb for forensic investigation is you do not work on the original copy. You take a copy and then you work on a copy. You don't conduct any activities on the original evidence, because that will lead to tainting of that evidence and it cannot be admissible in a court of law. And then lastly is timeline analysis, and we'll speak a bit about this as we proceed. And this is a process of reconstructing a sequence of events. So let's say an incident occurred between yesterday 8 a.m. to today midday. So you need to have a proper timeline showing what happened between 8 and 10 and noon and 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. and midnight and 6 a.m. in the morning, moving all the way to midday today. So a clear timeline for that incident, so that you're able to walk the different stakeholders through a very clear timeline of issues and identified on the network. So when we look at forensic investigations, we look at it in two broad categories. One is live data forensic, The other one is static data forensic. So live data forensic is performed on a system that is currently powered on. So for example, you have identified something malicious on a server. Before you shut it down, there are activities that you conduct. This is a process of collecting volatile data, be it data from the RAM, the current system state, network activities in terms of who is communicating with that device, and there are different tools that we use to conduct this. And the ones that I've listed here are mostly open source. So FTK Imager, and I'll speak about this a bit more as we consider, as we continue. Then there is one called Belkasoft RAM capture. So I think you can also write this down for your reference. So this is it's used to capture the current state of the RAM, the applications that are running, what the users currently doing on the network, because this becomes very, very, very important. And then Wireshark is also used for network forensics, seeing who is communicating with that server, traffic coming in and leaving the device. Then second one is static data analysis or forensics. So here we look at non-volatile data. There's data stored on hard drives, SSD, removable storage media, and the rest. So here you conduct, you take an image of that disk or of that device, and then you conduct file system analysis. So some of the tools that we use here, there's one called NCASE. It's a very good tool for forensic investigation. FTK Imager is also used for this. There's another one called Autopsy, which is also a very good tool that also helps you not only take an image of a specific device, but also has an ability to conduct automated scans on that device. And then lastly, we have SleuthKit, which is also a very good tool. Most of these tools have are either open source or they have a free version, and there are some that would require you to have to get a license for additional features. So when you're conducting a forensic investigation, you might be required to conduct an investigation of live data forensics, but sometimes because in case of ransomware or in case of fraudulent activities that maybe that leads to data being exploited from a system or money is being transferred, sometimes the immediate action is containment, and containment may involve shutting down a server. So once that server is shut down, what are the activities that you would do? And that would now fall under static data forensics. So it's important for you to understand that either of the two you may be required to conduct an assessment of, and there are also other processes around live data forensics and static data forensics that I may not be able to go into detail in this presentation, but just to help you appreciate the different the two main types of forensic data acquisition. So if you have been enlisted by someone to conduct a forensic investigation, be it in the company that you work for or as a third party coming in to conduct a digital forensic exercise, there are different things that you need to consider depending on the nature of the crime or of the attack. So I will just go through some of these, speaking about them, what they are, what's the input and input into the investigation, and the value that you will have at the end of the day. So number one is computer forensics. So this is focuses on the computer. So there's a fraudulent activity that has been identified, and it has been identified running on a specific server, either running Windows, Unix, or whichever Mac OS, depending on the different operating system. So we have narrowed down this activity on this server, or there's activity on this workstation that is fraudulent, and we need to conduct a forensic investigation at that level. So here you would look at operating system, you'd look at the applications that are sitting on that specific computer, and conduct a forensic investigation on that. Secondly, you will also conduct a network forensics. Network forensics is very important because no one system sits independent and unique without communicating with other endpoints within an organization or within a LAN, and also communicating with other devices on the internet. So a malicious activity could originate from the internet, where someone is able to come in and exploit a weak service that is sitting on your perimeter firewall or on your web, on the servers and applications that you have exposed on the internet, coming through those backdoors, coming through those weaknesses, and gain access into an environment and perpetrate a fraud. Another one is introduction of a malicious software, malicious computer onto the local LAN that allows someone to then have unauthorized access and conduct malicious activity. So network forensics is a must. You need to know if this server was compromised. How was it compromised? Or is someone coming in from my local network, or is it someone coming in from the internet? If it's from the internet, from where, from which country, from which zone, and how are they able to get access? If it's from my local LAN, was it from my headquarters? Was it from a branch? Was it from a VPN that I've given employees? So network forensics is very, very important in terms of understanding how a malicious actor traversed the network and was able to perpetrate a specific malicious activity, including introduction of malware into environment, and how was it introduced, and how was it dispersed within the network. So network forensics is a must. I'll jump mobile, come back to it later. Another aspect that is very important is database forensics. A lot of fraudulent or malicious activities target the database. Why? The database contains the most critical information about an organization. It contains history and the different processes that you as users use on a daily basis. So if the database is compromised, then it would allow someone to tamper with records and change records. It would allow someone to encrypt the database and ask for ransom. It would allow someone to have access to sensitive data and use that sensitive data to perpetrate another attack, or even to sell that data either online or in the dark web. So database forensics is very, very important, and we'll speak a bit about that as we continue. Malware forensics, this is very common these days, especially with the rise of ransomware attacks. And a lot of guys get hit by ransomware, and data is encrypted, and you're required to pay a ransom so that you're able to gain access to your data. And that is a very common attack vector, and malware forensics becomes very important. And I'll speak about how to conduct malware forensics as we proceed. And then cloud forensics. Everyone is on cloud. There's nobody, even us who are on this call, we are using an application that is already hosted on cloud. So everybody in one or another has an interaction in terms of cloud services, cloud infrastructure, whereby you have maybe bought infrastructure as a service, and an organization has bought infrastructure as a service, and you require to be able to conduct a forensic investigation on that area. And then lastly is mobile device forensics. This is, you look at call logs, text messages, emails, photos, app usage on the device to enable you have visibility in terms of what someone is doing on that device. And this is mostly devices that belong to an organization. If it's a mobile device that belongs to a specific user, then unless it's done through government or state investigating bodies, then as a person, you would not ideally have access to such devices. So looking at digital forensics, you need to be able to understand what is computer forensics, how can I do it? What is network forensics? What are the steps of doing that? If it was to gain access to a mobile device, may it be an Android device or an iOS device, how can I be able to conduct forensics on that? Database forensics, similar, and malware and cloud forensics. So there are different tools for different domains. There are tools that cut across all these. There are processes that you need to follow when you conduct a mobile device forensics that will differ from database forensics. So it is important for you to understand and have an appreciation of how to conduct forensics in these key domains, because one way or another, in case you had to conduct a forensic investigation, then you would either have to do one, two, or all of them on this list. So looking at the digital forensics process, there are 5 key areas that you need to consider. One is identification, second is preservation, analysis, documentation, and lastly, presentation. So it's very important to have an appreciation of this step. You can start analyzing without properly doing identification, and then when you start doing your documentation, you figure out there's a device that I didn't look at, there's a log source that I didn't review, there's an application that I didn't review, so you have to go back again to identification. So identifying and understanding properly, this is the case, these are the affected systems, these are the affected applications, and this is a list of all the logs that I need to do, that I need to collect before I begin the investigation. And secondly is preservation, because logs on systems get overwritten. So imagine you have done a forensic investigation and you've gotten to documentation stage or presentation stage, and you figure out there's something that you needed to go back and check. That is 2 weeks, 1 month down the line, you go check, the logs have already been overwritten. So preservation is also something very important to do. So identification, spend a lot of time, collect as much information as possible. Even if that information at this time may not look like something that you may need to collect that information, because you don't know if you're going to require it once you start doing analysis, once you get to the analysis stage. So identification has 2 key steps. What device may hold evidence related to the investigation? Be computers, smartphones, and the rest. IoT, network, cloud shares, servers on the network, all those things. So you need to identify what devices can hold evidence related to the investigation. That is one. And then what types of evidence are present on the devices being investigated. So that is also very, very important to know. The data that is stored on each device and what you're looking for, depending on the type of incident that you're trying to investigate. So if it is an incident that had a vector around an application that has web access, then collecting browser history becomes something that is very, very important for you to do to conduct during the investigation. So, and also understanding the different types of events and distinct formats that you need to collect. So what device might hold evidence related to the investigation? Once you have that, then what types of evidence? So you go checking each device and verifying that information is there or that information is not there. So in case that information is not there, the next question you ask yourself is, where can I get, where on the network or on any other device can I get information that can be able to help me fill this gap? In case that information is there, you go to that secondary device, pick that data. In case it's not there, then you have then to note this is an area, this is a blind spot. This will be a blind spot in my investigation, and then you conduct your investigation specifically on the data that is available. The second one is preservation. So preserving your data is very, very important, and data must be preserved in a forensic sound manner so that it is admissible in a court of law. So digital data, ideally, by its nature, is very fragile, and it can be corrupted, it can be messed with, and in case that data is corrupted in one way or another, then it's not admissible in a court of law, because the person who is being prosecuted in a court of law, their work is not only just to claim innocence and show their innocence, but poke holes in the case that you're trying to present. So in case your data is not properly, is not forensically sound, and there are guidelines specifically that guide in terms of how do you collect data and how do you preserve data in a way that is forensically sound. And this includes maintaining a very clear chain of custody, forensic imaging, and not working on the original data, a device, right blocking. So when you're conducting your forensic imaging, you conduct forensic imaging using tools that prevent writing, so that the data during collection, the integrity of the device during data collection is maintained. So when you have devices that allow you to write to that device as you're imaging, then the defense can use that to poke holes into the case that you're trying to prosecute in a court of law. And then lastly is data verification and validation, confirming that the data that you've collected is complete, it is accurate. If it's a forensic image, you can be able to open it, you can be able to load it, you can be able to access files and folders in it. So those 4 items are very, very important in terms of data preservation. Next, I'll speak about analysis and spend a bit of time here. So file system analysis is very important. At the operating system level, I'll speak on Windows a bit more, then also a bit on Linux. So file systems are very important in conducting a forensic investigation. Some of the most important file systems are located on the C drive of any Windows server or on any Windows workstation, contains information about user activity. Each user has a profile, and each profile has a folder within the Windows operating system that contains data belonging to that specific user. So you're able to review that and gain access to what a specific user was doing on the server. There are specific application data that is very important. On your Windows device, if you enable viewing of hidden folders, you'll see a folder called app data, another one called program data, and all that contains information about user activity on that device. There's another one called ntuser.dat that allows you to have access to what a user was doing, so that in case someone did an activity or performed an activity on a server and then went ahead and deleted files, such would give access to the activities that that user was conducting on that system. Another one that is also quite important is PowerShell, in case someone was using was using PowerShell to perpetrate a specific attack, and this can be stored on the device, and you're able to view the records in terms of PowerShell history. So depending on the activity that was performed on a device, that would allow you to know which folder, which files to look at. And then metadata analysis. So this one, you look at dates, access history, such records on a device that allows you to have access to what a specific user was doing and what was altered on a specific device. So someone may come in and clear logs, so you find the metadata in terms of dates there's an anomaly whereby you find everything on that device was created on the same day, which is an anomaly. So that shows you that something malicious happened on that device. And then log analysis, this is also very, very important. And each OS will have its own operating system logs. On Windows, it's under C Windows System 32. WinABT logs, and on Linux you would find them within a varlog folder that would have different log files there. So the log files allow you to have a view in terms of what different users were doing on that system and be able to build a case for any malicious activity identified. And then also at the operating system for both Linux and Windows, it also allows you to recover deleted files. maybe I will give you an example and something that you can test after this call. If you're running on your Windows machine, you can download a tool called Recover. That is a tool that enables you to recover deleted files. You can run it on your machine, and you will see some of the data that you had already deleted. That data will be available for you to see, and in case with the location on the disk where that data was written, no new data has been written to override what had been written before, then you are able to recover that file. So that would be an interesting example for you guys to test out, and just appreciate that just hitting delete on your machine does not mean that whatever was sitting on that machine has been deleted. There are ways in which we can be able to recover some of those records. And then network traffic analysis, as I mentioned, very important. And I said I'll speak about sandboxing at the end. So sandboxing allows you to conduct analysis on a malware. So if you identified a malware, a keylogger, a backdoor malware, a ransomware malware. So depending on whichever vector that malware is trying to exploit, you cannot just run that on your PC because it would lead to your machine being compromised. So you need to put it on a sandbox environment, and there are tools that allows you to do that. And then once you do that, then you're able to appreciate information around connections, processes that are running, payloads, and even registry changes, because some of these malwares actually go into your registry and try and change records. So it's very important to be able to conduct malware analysis in a closed environment, so that in case any exploit is going to be attempted by the malware, you and your environment are going to be secure. So analysis is very, very important step of, in terms of being able to conduct a forensic investigation. And I'll speak about some of these tools. So autopsy, as I said, it's a very good tool because once you collect an image of a specific server, you can be able to have it analyzed and also build a timeline for you and help you and appreciate what happened on that server at what time. So it looks at different records, looks at files, look at application logs, and helps you build a timeline. It also helps you recover deleted files. So in case something was deleted on a specific server, and you have to pick that data. This is a tool that is mostly free, so you can take it, set it up on your machine, either Windows or Linux, and you play around with it and appreciate the different features that it holds. Another one that is also very popular is called FTK, and this also allows you to conduct static analysis of your environment, and looks at different files, different folders, helps you view hidden files and hidden folders, helps you also recover data that has been lost, explore, have access to, and be able to search, keyword search for specific files. So in case there's a specific file name that you're looking for on a specific image that you have collected, FTK Imager and also Autopsy would allow you to do that. And FTK is also a free tool, so you can also check it out and have a view of it. Others include volatility. Volatility, this is, as I said, this is for to record and to pick data around around the memory of a device before the device is shut down, so that you're able to collect active records and what is happening on a device. And then lastly, we have NCase that allows you also to conduct analysis. So you can just take a note of the tools. I may not be able to conduct a demo on the tools because of time restriction, but I wanted just for you guys to appreciate the different tools. Most of these are open source, so you're able to interact with them, play around with them, and just appreciate the capabilities that they hold. And then documentation. So documentation is very important. You have conducted your analysis, you have your findings, you're able to identify what happened, when it happened, who perpetrated the attack and why the attack was perpetrated, then you go ahead and document. And there are different documentations that as a forensic investigator, you can be able to, you need to be able to document. One is an initial incident report. So if you're responding to an incident, everybody is jittery, everybody is tense, everybody wants to know what happened, what is the loss that we have incurred. So an initial incident report is very important to help calm the nerves, to help guys understand and appreciate what happened. And then a chain of custody documentation is very important. So how did you collect the data? When did you collect it? And a proper chain of custody documentation is very important, so that in case you are to follow and go to prosecution, then you're able to show that the data that we're presenting in the court of law has maintained its integrity. And then forensic analysis logs. So for each of the findings, you need to have a log from a system that backs up the point that you have that you are trying to pass. So for example, if on your report you indicate that Daniel had logged into this server at 9:01 p.m., then there needs to be a backup of a log that says Daniel logged into this server at 9:01 p.m. It cannot be because I passed Daniel on the hall and he was heading into the ICT room, he is the one who logged in. If there is no evidence to back up a specific claim, then it cannot be included in any report. And then evidence inventory. So for every evidence item you collect, there needs to be have an inventory for digital evidence collected through disk images, and also for hard drives and physical data, physical evidence inventory, including workstations and servers. There needs to be a proper inventory of all those, and then that fits into the final report. So once you have documented, the next step is presentation. So you need to one, be able to understand the whole flow of your investigation. Speak about timelines, speak about the chain of custody, speak in an easy to understand language. Forensic investigations are ideally very complex. So if your presentation is also complex, then the different stakeholders who ideally would be either management, would be a board of directors for an organization's space. In a court of law, you would have lawyers and you will have judges who you would find most of them are maybe not technical, or their technical expertise is quite shallow. So if you're not able to speak in an easy to understand language, then it becomes very difficult to pass the message. And then also prepare for questions. What are some of the questions that one would ask, and be able to answer to that? So it's very important how you pass the message to show this is what happened, this is what has been done to prevent this incident from happening again, or this is what needs to be done to prevent this incident from happening again, and all that. So making that message very easy for the different stakeholders to understand. And then speak a bit about techniques in digital forensics. So keyword search is very important, and as you play around with autopsy and FTK imager, you'll understand a bit more about keyword search, looking for a specific file. If you're conducting a mobile forensics, then you can use keyword search to look at specific text messages on that device to identify what the person was doing, or identify the malicious activity. So keyword search is also very important. Timeline analysis is very important. If you're not able to build a timeline for a forensic investigation, or a digital forensic investigation, then you cannot be able to present a case that makes sense. You need to be able to build a case from its inception, from when the initial intrusion was conducted, to when the actual malicious activity occurred, to when someone was doing cleanup and exiting the network. So it's very, very important to be able to build a timeline. And then we also have file carving. This is a process of extracting files and data fragments from unallocated spaces. This is mostly for when you're trying to recover deleted files. So file carving is also very important because maybe someone performed an activity, deleted logs. So it allows you to go back and collect that data and have a view of what a person did. And then also hash analysis. So in case someone tampered with a file, to allow a specific connection to go through, to allow for specific malicious activity to be conducted on the network, then hash analysis allows you to do that. And then lastly, we have anomaly detection. This is anything that is malicious. So maybe, for example, accessing of a specific device that is normally accessed during business hours between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., but you have noted someone accessing it at midnight. You have noted someone performing a transaction that should not be performed from that device, but from another device, or from this user account, but should not be performed from that user account, but the another user account. So anomaly detection is also very, very important in terms of trying to find out the who. In a forensic investigation, because most of the time you will find someone or a specific activity that occurs outside the norm that is used to perpetrate a specific malicious activity on the network or on a device. So anomaly detection becomes very, very important a tool or a technique to be able to help you figure out what happened on the network. So these are some of the techniques that forensic investigators employ to try and identify what and who perpetrated malicious activity on a network. And then lastly, I'm going to speak about challenges. What are some of the challenges that you would face in forensic investigation? One is digital forensic require high level of technical expertise. So if you're conducting a forensic investigation on a specific application, you need to understand the architecture of that application, how data is transmitted on that application. You need to be able to identify where the logs are stored, how they are stored, and the meaning of those logs. So ideally, you need to understand the whole architecture of a specific application before you then again go and conduct a comprehensive forensic investigation. You also need to understand operating systems in terms of Windows, in terms of Linux, the different structures, how they log, what is allowed to be done, and then what can be done that would be an indicator of a malicious activity. In case you're conducting a network forensics, then you need to understand how data is transmitted on a network, the architecture of that environment, and different environments have different architectures. If you're talking about cloud assessment, then that is something that is completely different. You also need to understand how cloud computing works. So digital forensics requires technical expertise. And in terms of skill sets, this is an area that requires continuous growth in terms of people who can be able to conduct a forensic investigation and end to end and produce a report that has clear findings in terms of what happened, when it happened, who perpetrated a specific attack. And then secondly is the amount of data generated. So data sometimes might be difficult. So if you're looking at a file share that has a terabyte worth of data, becomes very difficult to review all those files. So you need to have tools in place that allows you to have a specific automated level of scanning, because you cannot go through each file individually in a manual basis. Another example would be a database that stores records of an organization going back 10, 20 years. So imagine having to go through that and try and identify malicious activity, even if it's data for an year, but more than a year, but it's being written every second. There's a new record that is being entered into that database. Then that makes the forensic investigation a bit more complex. And Devices also are complex. So technology is changing every day. You learn this tool, you learn this device today, tomorrow something new has come out. So the digital devices and those systems, complexity around those systems become very difficult sometimes for one to be able to understand the complexities in terms of the architecture of a system and how it communicates with other devices. Then a lot of encryption. So a lot of applications today use encryption. And if you don't have the key that allows you to decrypt that information, some of that information may be completely, you may not be able to view that data. For example, if it's information around data being transmitted between two applications and both of them are encrypted and that data belongs to another third party, the owner of that application is another third party who does not, because of security concerns, may not want to give you the key to decrypt that data. So in case that data is encrypted, you have to go through a long process to decrypt that data, and some of the time you may actually fail to decrypt that data. So in case that data remains encrypted, then it becomes completely useless to you as a forensic investigator. And then data also becomes corrupted over time. So a lot of incidents, and these are incidents around fraud and around malicious acts on a network, most of them take time in terms of one has to put in the stage the environment, compromise specific accounts. Then from there, they conduct a lateral movement on the network. Then from there, they conduct the attack. So it can be something that can be layered over 3, 4, 5 months. So data on systems are always overwritten over time. And if you don't have a record somewhere where you keep data separately from a server, then that data will be lost because it will be overwritten. So once you come in to conduct an investigation, maybe 3 months down the line, you may be able to understand how the incident happened because you have the logs for that time, but how the staging was done and how someone was able to gain access to a system, that information will be lost because it has already been overwritten. And then tools evolve over time. So keeping up to pace with changing technology and devices also is a challenge. And then the last one, which is also a very, very, very key hindrance or key challenge for forensic investigations, is that ensuring that your data is admissible in a court of law, and then also being able to demonstrate that the person you're prosecuting in a court of law is actual perpetrator. So for example, if a compromise was done using an administrative account that is a shared password, it's very difficult for you to say it's this one person because we already know that many people within that organization have access to that password. So being able to pinpoint the who is also very, very difficult. And also we have laws coming up, but attack vectors change and laws are not being enacted fast enough. So in that case, due to complexity of a specific attack, the current laws may not allow you to be able to convict someone or be able to prove your case adequately in a court of law to be able to have someone convicted of the crime that they have perpetrated. So a lot of people will be arrested, will be taken through the process of a court, and because of the complexity of the attack and the different stakeholders who you are trying to present the case to not understand the intricacies of the attack, then a person is let go because you have not been able to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that it is Daniel who perpetrated this attack. So what are some of the best practices for anyone is to have secondary log location, have data stored on a server. Every device should be logging, and not only logging, but logging the right kind of logs. You can't just log for the sake of logging. You need to log data that shows what happened, when it happened, and by who. So that is very, very important. And have a separate server, a syslog server or a SIEM or something of a different technology where that data is shipped off that device and stored somewhere else for long-term storage, so that in case you are to conduct an investigation of an attack that took 6 months or 1 year, you have the comfort of knowing that you have enough logs to enable you go back 6 months, go back 1 year. Another good practice is to ensure that you follow proper evidence collection process, proper chain of custody during the investigation. You cannot just collect data, have access to system, go into those systems, figure out what happened, and then take an image of that server. That data becomes inadmissible. So understanding chain of custody, understanding how to collect data, how to mark that data, how to ensure that you have implemented controls on computer system using hashes on physical devices using proper forms that show proper custody of records, so that if you're to present that in a court of law, the integrity of the data that you're presenting is backed up by those items. Another one is reducing or zero trust. I would say zero trust controls on your network, and ensuring that you have least privilege controls implemented on your network. What do I mean by this? So if you have least privilege, here you only allow someone have access to what they need to have access to, and whatever they don't need to have access to, then that is completely blocked off, so that in case someone was to come in and perpetrate a malicious activity, then it would necessitate them to have access to many accounts, to many systems, that ideally most times is not something that someone can be able to do. So these are some of the recommendations and areas of improvement at a personal level, and then also get certification, learn more about this, because if you are to present this in a court of law, you need also to show that you are qualified person to be able to present a court case around a digital forensics investigation. So I think that's the end of my presentation this evening. So I'll allow maybe for the next few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes for any questions. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much, Daniel. I see already there are a couple of hands up, so let me help you with the hands that are up, and then you can answer the questions. Collins, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Hope, and good evening to everyone. Also, Daniel, thank you so much for the presentation. My question on the digital forensic is, there's one laboratory in the country by DCI, Directorate of Criminal Investigation. They have a digital forensics lab that entails research and doing background checks on what you just discussed to us about. Now, armed with this knowledge now, my question is, what tools or which platforms can we utilize to start practicing on how to do digital forensics and gain expertise in the field, so that we can become people who are adept with the market in terms of skill set? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So yes, there are quite a number of tools, there are quite a number of certifications that allow you to gain experience in this. So a common one that is there within the market that is not too expensive is one by EC Council. It's called Certified Hacker Forensic Investigator, and in short, CHFI. So that course allows you to understand the nitty-gritties about forensic investigation and be able to appreciate the different nitty-gritties around that. There are also open source tools and platforms. There are quite a number of white papers done by SANS and other bodies that allow you to have an understanding or an introduction to digital forensics and how to conduct an investigation. And there's also one key researcher called Eric Zimmerman, who also does quite a number of forensic investigations. He has published quite a number of articles, and also has a myriad of tools that allows you to conduct a forensic investigation. So if you're looking for open source, those are some of the materials that you can look at. But also, if you're looking at more certified area, then CHFI, there's one by SANS also that allows you to appreciate cyber forensics. So depending with which route that you want to take, those are some of the options I would recommend. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that.
All right.
Okay, so I'll go on the chat. There are a couple of questions first on the chat. Joy asks, when dealing with malware incidents, especially those that may have been present for an extended period, and detected, i.e., nation-state sponsored attacks, how do forensic analysts determine how far back to perform the investigation? Yeah.
So first thing that you need to do is understand the propagation mechanics of a malware, especially if it's a backdoor or a keylogger. And sometimes you find some of these items have been sitting on a network for 1 year, for 2 years, sometimes even longer than that. So what you normally do, there are tools that allow you to conduct a scan of your environment. So what you normally do is pick 2-3 devices that are compromised, see whether the malware has a unique hash. So if a malware has a unique hash, then you can upload that onto a script that you can run on either PowerShell on Windows or command line on Linux, and identify where else on your network that file hash exists. Then you can be able to know and have containment controls. Sometimes also antivirus, depending with the antivirus provider you're using, allows you also to incorporate those hashes within a specific within the AV, and then it will conduct a scan of the entire environment and give you different other devices that have been compromised. So one is once you put the malware on your sandbox environment, understand how it propagates itself. Once you know how it propagates itself by distributing itself on the network, you can be able to know where to start and how and the path to follow to eradicate that specific malware on your network. Yeah.
Okay. Then from Bradley, we have, which image capture tool do you use? Also, how do you deal with storage of large images? And how long should you keep images after an investigation?
So a tool that I use a lot is FTK Imager, for both live image collection and also for static image collection. Large images, you need large disks. So you need to have maybe a 10 TB, 4 TB disk, depending with the volume of data that you want to collect. And in terms of how long you should keep that data, if you have conducted an investigation, you have closed it, we know the issue, the organization has dealt with it, you're not going to court, you have closed you have issued the final report, you can do away with the image. But in case that case has gone to court of law, then you have to keep those records for the duration that that case is open in the court of law, because that evidence is going to be referred to as the case continues until now we have final determination. And in case it goes to appeal, then that record will also be there. So if it takes the litigation route, you might end up storing the data for quite a long time. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a hand from Rehema. I'm not sure if the question has been answered by the other questions. Rehema, are you on the call? Okay. So Samo, you can go ahead. The hand, yeah, go ahead. MO, your mic is on, but we can't hear you unless it's only on my side. Okay, check on your mic and you can also put it on the chat. Peter, go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, yeah. So thank you so much, Ndegwa, for that session. Just a question. Being a novice in this domain, yeah. How do you keep up with all these tools and technologies? And because there's so many tools out there. How do you keep up with all these emerging trends and tools? Yeah.
Daniel?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes. So I was saying you need to pick an interest and follow the guys in that area. So within the cybersecurity field or any other ICT field, be it digital forensics, they are leaders or the guys who actually continuously release content, continuously release updates. So if you're able to follow them on LinkedIn and on X and on all these other platforms, it allows you to be updated in terms of what is happening. Also, attending conferences and being in a group of similar-minded people also allows you to gain a lot of information, so that you are not just looking to read articles, looking to consume information through reading, but you have incorporated other systems within your ecosystem that allows you to be kept informed and updated without having to set your mind that I need to read so that I get this information. So those are some of the things that you can implement to keep yourself updated.
Okay. Rehema, your hand is back up. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much, Hope. Sorry, I was on mute. So I have a few questions. One is, do you need knowledge in all these domains that you have just discussed to work as a digital forensics analyst? Two, how does digital forensics and information security relate? Three, which industries can a digital forensic analyst work in? And three, could you kindly recommend a few articles that are really good in digital forensics field? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Maybe I lost the second question, but I'll try my best to answer it. So in the first one, you need to have a basic understanding. You cannot conduct a forensic investigation on a system or a network infrastructure that you do not understand. It's going to be quite counterproductive, because if you don't understand how an application works, then you will have issues. So if you have a basic and fundamental understanding of network architecture and infrastructure, you have a basic understanding of how an operating system works, how applications normally work. Just have that basic understanding in terms of the basics of a mobile application, architecture, server, operating system architecture, network architecture. Then depending on the case that you are investigating, you can then build up knowledge on a specific application or a specific network architecture. In terms of, maybe you'll have to repeat the second question. The last one, I think, in terms of the skills.
All right, so my second question was, how does digital forensics and information security relate?
So digital forensics is a facet of information security. So you can be a complete someone who does digital forensics, and especially if you're working within incident response. And you will find a lot of guys who, if you're in a SOC, you have specific department within the SOC that does incident response. So for people who are incident responders, then you need to have an understanding of digital forensics. Yeah. But if you work in all these other domains, you may have a basic understanding, but you don't need to have in-depth knowledge in terms of digital forensics. Yeah. And what was the last question?
Okay, the third question and the last question, which industries can digital forensic analyst work in? And the last question is just a request if you can recommend a few articles that are really good in digital forensics field.
Okay, I think I'll share with Hope some of these the links that you can be able to look at, and in terms of other the areas that you can be able to practice digital forensics. One is law enforcement. Another one, law enforcement being working within an agency of, for example, Directorate of Criminal Investigation that has a digital forensics arm. That's one of the areas. Another one is you can also work for specific industry regulators and help their members in case they have a digital they have a requirement around a forensic investigation. Another one is also if you are an incident responder at an organization. So in case something malicious is identified, then within your incident response capabilities or functions, you're able to conduct a forensic investigation. And thirdly, you can also be someone who is a subject matter expert and do consultancy and help different organizations be able to respond to be able to respond to malicious activity that require forensic investigations. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so our last question is D_C4 Captain. That's the name here. So go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Hello, you can confirm if you can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. First of all, thank you, Mr. Daniel. I happened to join in late. I'm in SOC, but I got curious a little bit recently. I don't know if you mentioned this, but I'd like you to maybe repeat it again if you did. What are the best practices and common challenges that are associated with digital forensics when dealing with the cloud infrastructure? We know as far as multi-tenancy and access controls are concerned.
Okay, so when it comes to cloud infrastructure, it's important to understand what type of cloud infrastructure that you have deployed. Is it infrastructure as a service or is it software as a service? So in case it's software as a service, then security obligations are taken by the third party who is providing that service. So that's something that you not have to worry about. But in case you have infrastructure as a service, the similar infrastructure that you have implemented on cloud, you still have the same risks that you would have if you had implemented that technology on-prem. AWS and Azure, for example, those are the most common ones I'll pick on. They have tools that allows you to conduct a review of what different users did on the cloud infrastructure. That is at host level, not going into the OS of the different virtual machines that you have set up. But in case you have a virtual machine set up, then you need to have proper logging configured on those devices, and then also have a centralized log collection so that you're able to have visibility in terms of who did what and when. So you have to implement those controls in case you're using infrastructure as a service. Yeah.
Well, out of curiosity, between data acquisition for forensic analysis in cloud infrastructure and the normal system environments, which one would you rate as requires a more technical approach in regards with skills, of course?
Cloud is a bit easier because you can be able to just get a clone of a server. Just log in, get a clone. In case you are running a physical server on your environment, then you need to have to invest in getting a disk, getting tools to be able to perform data acquisition. But for cloud, it's easier because you can just perform a clone of a server and have a copy somewhere that you can be able to conduct your investigation while retaining the original copy of the file. So in terms of data acquisition, cloud will be easier than a physical server.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, so as I had said before, that will be our last question. We've gone way beyond time. Thank you so much, Daniel, for accommodating this. Do you have any last remarks before I close the session, Daniel?
Thank you, Hope. Thank you all for taking time. I know we have not been able to answer all the questions, even though some of them on chat, but maybe we'll plan another session another time where we can be able to discuss a bit more about digital forensics. So it's a very interesting field. If it's something that you're interested in, there's a lot of room for growth and exploration. And once you become an expert in this field, there's a demand for the service within this market being Kenya and the rest of Africa. So I would encourage you guys to have a look at it, just get to appreciate it more. And also, it also helps you appreciate the intricacies of how different systems and applications work. So jump into it, learn more about it, and build your capacity to be able to conduct digital forensics, especially if you want to look at areas around incident response. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Daniel. I think we should have like one more session where it's just a practical session. We can maybe dabble in the tools and have that practical experience in it. That would really bring this home. Apart from that, thank you for mentoring and being part of this session, taking us through digital forensics, all the way from the tools to the types of digital forensics, to the process of it, to the documentation, analysis, techniques, and lastly, the challenges. Thank you for going through all that. I'm sure there's a lot we have learned. I'll also request that you share the slides and maybe any other tools that you may have in mind. You can just add them to the slides and I can share the slides with the students if that's fine with you.
That's fine with me.
Okay, so thank you everyone for the session. Thank you for the time. I hope you all have a good evening. Bye.
Bye.
Hope how will you get the resources? Because for me, I was able to join this session through LinkedIn.
Okay. You can side chat me on LinkedIn. Check Hope
All right,
Nduta. Yeah, and then I can
okay. Thank you so
forward
much.
that there. Welcome.
Okay, Hope, Daniel, and the rest have a good night.
Thank you, Kelvin. Good night.